What is up, everybody? It's Animac here for Anime Uproar, and in this video we are going to be explaining every villain in My Hero Academia. Thank you so much for your support on our Every Quirk Explained Class 1A video and on our Hero Killer Stained Explained video. You guys requested it, so in this video we are going to be talking about some of the coolest characters in the My Hero Academia anime and manga. While there are certainly some cool hero characters out there, I was always intrigued by the villains of My Hero Academia, so I had a great time making this video. Just a quick warning, there will be some manga spoilers, but I will do my best to give you an explanation of the villains and their quirks without revealing too much about what ultimately happens to them in the story. And now, if you're excited and ready to go, be sure to Detroit smash that like button, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell. In the world of My Hero Academia, the villains are the people who decided to use their quirks not for helping others, but for their own ends. Armed with amazing powers or quirks, these criminals pose a serious threat to society, and they are a constant thorn in the side of the world's many heroes. In this video, we are going to be listing all of the notable lone wolf villains, all of the members of the notorious League of Villains, and members of the 8 Precepts of Death. And of course, by notable villains, I mean those villains that we have enough information on to actually talk about. And jumping right into the lone wolf villains, we have Sludge. Introduced in the first episode of the anime and the first chapter of the manga, the Sludge villain has a body that appears to be made of mud, and he is shown to be extremely brutal and cruel. His quirk turns him into a shapeless monster made of mud, and because he doesn't appear to have any joints or bones in his sludge form, the Sludge villain is highly resistant to physical attacks. He is able to possess the bodies of others and even use their quirks by wrapping himself around them, although it apparently takes at least 45 seconds for Sludge to take control of someone else's body. Despite the amazing power of his quirk, he was successfully taken out by All Might. And next we have Trapezius Headgear. He appears in episode 9 of the anime and in chapter 13 of the manga. He is a muscle-bound villain who is shown taking a family hostage and acting in a very cruel manner. His quirk is an unnamed, strength-based quirk, and we can assume that this villain's quirk gives him superhuman strength and speed. And we know that he was strong enough that 2 pro heroes, Mount Lady and Kamui Woods, could not take him down. He is ultimately taken down by All Might with just one Missouri Smash chop, proving that while this villain is strong, he is not in the same league as All Might. And of course, the most notorious lone wolf villain, Hero Killer Stain. Chizome Akagure, better known as Stain, is an infamous villain known for killing pro heroes. Stain is motivated by a purist ideology which holds that modern society has become corrupt as a result of fake heroes who don't care about helping others but are instead interested in gaining money and power for themselves. His ultimate goal is to rid the world of fake heroes and create a better society where heroes are genuinely interested in helping others and doing good. As you will see as this video goes on, Stain is a very influential figure among the villains of this world, and his ideology inspired many villains to follow in his footsteps. The name of his quirk is Blood Curdle, and its type is Emitter. The power of Stain's quirk is to literally paralyze anyone whose blood he is able to consume. The length of the paralysis depends on the blood type of each victim, and the maximum amount of time that the paralysis can last is 8 minutes. Stain always carries a variety of different blades with him so that he can easily draw the blood of his opponents and activate his quirk. If you want to know more about Hero Killer Stain, check out our full video on him where we go in much greater depth about Stain as a character and about his powers. The link is in the description. And now we are going to move on to the League of Villains, the most infamous villain group in My Hero Academia, whose goal is to kill All Might, the one hero considered to be the symbol of peace and stability, and to create a new society that suits their own needs. First, we have Tomura Shigaraki. Shigaraki's real name is Tenko Shimura, and he is one of the leaders of the League of Villains. Although he did not create the League, and we will talk about the mastermind behind the entire league a little bit later. Shigaraki is the acting leader of the League of Villains. He is determined to create a world without All Might. The name of his quirk is Disintegration. Its type is Emitter and it works on contact. With his quirk, Shigaraki has the power to literally destroy anything he lays his hands on. The destruction activates automatically whenever he touches something with all 5 of his fingers. So in order to touch anything that he doesn't want to destroy, Shigaraki has to make sure that he touches it with only a part of his hand. In his supervillain outfit, Shigaraki has 14 disembodied hands that are holding different parts of his body, including a hand that covers his face. Oddly enough, Shigaraki calls the hand that covers his face Father, and he has a strange and obsessive attachment to it. Shigaraki appears to be a deeply disturbed individual. He does not value the lives of others, and he is prepared to kill UA students and innocent civilians in order to get what he wants. There is an interesting aspect of Shigaraki's backstory that might explain a lot about his behavior. As a child, he is said to have been in an incident in which he needed help, but no one who passed by helped him because they just assumed that helping him was the job of heroes. He was finally saved not by a hero, but by the founder of the League of Villains, who then takes Shigaraki under his wing and grooms him into becoming a villain. This incident is interesting commentary on the society of My Hero Academia. In a world where heroes are expected to do all the good deeds and to save people, normal people no longer take responsibility for anything that is going on around them. Next we have Kudo Giri, the second in command of the League of Villains. His name means Black Fog, and it is an appropriate name since his quirk makes him appear as if he was completely made of black fog. Kudo Giri tends to speak like a proper gentleman, and when he is out and about on a normal day, he tends to dress in a suit and tie. However, when he is doing villainous things, he appears to wear nothing at all, and so he looks like a mass of black mist with long yellow eyes. The name of his quirk is Warp Gate, its type is Emitter, and it works long range. His quirk is classified as an extremely rare type of quirk, and it allows Kudo Giri to create portals out of the black fog that surrounds him and to teleport objects and people to another location, or to bring objects and people from another location to his current one. He can use the fog to hide his own body, but his body is always in there somewhere, so if his opponents can find it, they can potentially take him down before he uses his quirk. The only limitation of this powerful and extremely cool quirk is that he must know the exact location in which the portals are going to open. So for example, he cannot simply choose to teleport to All Might's bedroom and kill him in his sleep, unless he knows where exactly that bedroom is located. Kudo Giri is definitely an impressive villain with a very cool quirk, and I think I have the perfect waifu for this guy, Shadow Weaver from She-Ra. Then we have Giran. He is a broker and scout who looks for new villains and tries to get them to join the League of Villains. His primary concern is making money, and he isn't interested in the well-being of other people nearly as much as he is interested in profit. He is known for always smoking a cigarette and having a smirk on his face. His quirk is still unknown to us, but we do know that Giran has exceptional business savvy and close connections to the criminal underworld, which makes him a formidable foe for any hero. Next we have Nomu. Nomu is a huge muscular creature with a beak-shaped mouth, sharp teeth, and a large brain that is located on the outside of his head. Nomu is considered to be an artificial human, which means that he was once a regular person who was experimented on by the League of Villains. These experiments spliced his genes with the genes of multiple other people, turning him into a mindless slave who only follows orders. Despite this, he is extremely powerful and ruthless in carrying out the orders given to him, and due to the experimentation conducted on him, he is actually capable of using 2 different quirks. The first quirk is Shock Absorption, which allows him to absorb the force of any and all attacks coming his way, although there is a limit to how much damage he can sustain. The second quirk is Super Regeneration. As the name suggests, this quirk allows Nomu to quickly recover from any damage sustained to his body, and even to regenerate entire limbs. Nomu was created for the specific purpose of destroying All Might, and his powers are said to rival All Might's. It is important to know that there are multiple Nomu or artificial humans that have been created by the League of Villains, but the Nomu that faced off against All Might at the USJ appears to be the strongest artificial human that we have encountered to date. And now for the real leader of the League of Villains, the boss of all bosses, a man known as All for One. All for One was once the most powerful villain in all of Japan, and All Might's greatest enemy. His true identity is a mystery for most of the series. He is known for wearing a dark and frankly pretty epic mask that reminds me of Darth Vader. And much like Darth Vader, beneath the mask he appears to have a severely scarred and disfigured face, and breathing tubes can be seen sticking out of his neck, implying that he was gravely injured at some point in his life. He is portrayed as an evil mastermind who creates elaborate plots and schemes and is able to manipulate many different people to do his bidding. Just like his villain name, the name of his quirk is All for One, and this quirk allows its user to steal the quirks of others and use them himself. This in itself sounds pretty incredible. But on top of that, All for One also allows its user to transfer the stolen quirks onto other people. The unfortunate individuals who have their quirks stolen by All for One are left in a vegetative state similar to a coma. That is pretty brutal in and of itself. But in addition to that, some people who receive a stolen quirk as a result of All for One are unable to handle them, and they themselves become mindless creatures capable of nothing but following orders, just like Nomu. And if that wasn't enough, the user of All for One can combine multiple stolen quirks in one person in order to create a more powerful super quirk that would never have occurred naturally. For these reasons, I think that All for One is probably the most dangerous quirk in the entire world of My Hero Academia. And now we're gonna be looking at the Vanguard Action Squad, which is a group of new recruits affiliated with the League of Villains who are considered to be an elite villain fighting force. The Vanguard Action Squad was formed when Dobby and Himiko Toga are inspired by the ideology of Stain to join the League of Villains because they mistakenly believe that Stain was himself a member of the League. Starting off with Dobby, after the public learned about Stain and his philosophy, Dobby was one of the people who was inspired to follow in Stain's footsteps and to finish what Stain had started. He joined the League of Villains in the belief that Stain was affiliated with them, and he has a very interesting appearance as large portions of his skin are dark purple and seem to be sewn to the rest of his body with stitches, similar to depictions of the Frankenstein monster. Dobby is calm, confident, and he doesn't let anyone mess with him. Dobby has a fire-based quirk which allows him to generate powerful dark flames that he can then use to destroy his enemies. His chosen villain name is Dobby, which means cremation, and this of course makes sense when we consider his deadly fire-based quirk. Next we have Himiko Toga. Just like Dobby, Toga joined the League of Villains in order to follow in the footsteps of her idol Stain. Although her ultimate goal is to make the world a better place in the way that Stain had intended, she exhibits signs of being mentally unstable, or yandere in anime speak. She smiles and laughs sadistically as she destroys her enemies, and she appears cheerful even in the face of imminent danger. The name of her quirk is Transform, and its type is, quite obviously, transformation. Toga's quirk allows her to change her appearance in order to look and sound like a completely different person, if she is able to consume enough of that person's blood. On top of that, if she holds her breath and clears her mind, she can actually appear invisible to her opponents during a battle. She carries a pocket knife that allows her to drain the blood of her opponents so that she can use her quirk. And she also carries a blood draining machine on her back that lets her drain the blood quickly. While she is not a physically powerful villain, her power rank is only a 1 out of 5. She has excellent reflexes and makes up for what she lacks in power with her agility, speed, and stealth. Then we have Spinner. This villain's unique physical features make him easily recognizable in a crowd. He has a distinctly reptilian appearance and the face of a giant lizard. As yet another villain who was greatly inspired by Stain, Spinner's mask and clothing appear to be designed to mimic what Stain himself wore. The most interesting part about him is his strange weapon, a giant makeshift sword made up of all sorts of different smaller blades. Despite its size, Spinner is able to use the sword with exceptional speed, which makes us think that his quirk could be related to superhuman reptilian strength, reminiscent of the powers that Lizard from Spider-Man possesses. Next we have a villain called Twice. An intriguing and highly contradictory villain, Twice's real name is Jin Bubaigawara. Although he gives great importance to understanding one's own identity, he actually suffers from an identity crisis himself. The name of his quirk is Double, its type is Emitter, and it works on contact. This quirk enables Twice to create clones of himself or others by touching them. He had previously used this power to clone himself over and over again in order to create an army of clones. But because each clone retains the exact same personality as the original, the clones could not determine who was the real Twice, and they turned on each other. The current Twice cannot be sure whether he was the original or whether he is simply one of his own clones. Whenever one of the clones he creates with his quirk is destroyed, it dissolves into a dark liquid. Then we have Muscular. Muscular is a muscle-bound villain with a distinctive scar on his face and a prosthetic eye. He is sadistic and violent, and he takes pleasure in killing people, including innocent civilians. Although his physical power is very impressive, his intelligence level leaves much to be desired. He scores a 5 out of 5 for both power and speed, but only a 1 out of 5 for intelligence. The name of his quirk is Muscle Augmentation. Its type is Transformation and it works at close range. His quirk enables Muscular to transform or augment his muscle fibers in order to become both stronger and faster. This quirk is incredibly powerful when it comes to physical strength. It allows him to smash rocks to bits, and he was even able to take the force of Deku's 100% Detroit Smash without suffering any significant injuries. He lost his eye in a battle against two pro heroes while trying to attack a village. In the battle, Muscular actually murdered both heroes, but after the battle he was too injured to continue attacking the village. Next is Mustard, a teen villain with a rather unique look. Mustard is known for wearing a school uniform along with a gas mask and a green army helmet. He carries a revolver pistol as a weapon, and he isn't afraid to use it. His quirk is referred to as Sleep Gas. Its type is Emitter, and it works at long range. This quirk enables Mustard to create a gas that puts people to sleep. He is able to control the gas, and he can also sense the movements of anyone who is located inside the zone where the gas has spread. As he is not immune to the effects of his own quirk, Mustard has to wear a gas mask, and if he himself is incapacitated, then the gas will disappear. His name is likely a reference to mustard gas, a deadly chemical weapon first used by the German army in World War I. The military helmet that Mustard wears could be based on German military helmets. Then we have Magne. Magne's real name is Kenji Hikishi, and he is easily recognized by his large lips and long red hair. Known for his ruthlessness and cruelty, Magne was a hardened criminal who committed multiple robberies and murders before joining the League of Villains. The name of his quirk is Magnetism, and this quirk enables Magne to magnetize everyone within a 4.5 meter radius from where he is standing. He uses the magnetic properties of his quirk to manipulate the movement of his opponents, either their entire bodies or a specific part of their body. Men and women appear to have different magnetic poles according to the rules of this quirk, and if he magnetizes two people of the same gender, Magne can actually make them repel each other with great force. He is unable to use his quirk on himself, but even without his quirk, Magne is extremely skilled in hand-to-hand combat. Next is a villain known as Moonfish, one of the creepiest villains in the entire series. Moonfish is believed to be a brutal criminal who was sentenced to death but managed to escape from death row. He wears some sort of S&M straitjacket outfit, and his mouth is forced to stay open with metal clamps. He is obsessed with meat and flesh, especially the flesh of his opponents, and he is known for talking to himself like a madman. His quirk is referred to as dental manipulation, and the quirk allows him to transform his teeth into extremely strong and sharp blades that can be used both to attack opponents and to help him move out of the way of oncoming attacks. Last but not least, for the Vanguard, we have Mr. Compress. He is said to be one of the most intelligent villains in the world, and I personally find him to be one of the most intriguing villains because of his cool mask and outfit, his interesting quirk, and his eccentric personality. The name of his quirk is Compress, its type is Emitter, and it works on contact. This quirk enables Mr. Compress to literally shrink or compress everything within a certain physical zone into a small marble. Mr. Compress can trap people inside these marbles and render them powerless, and he is also able to quickly turn everything inside the marble back to its normal size when he wants to. Aside from his quirk, he has epic acrobatic skills, impressive speed, and as I mentioned already, he is an extremely intelligent individual. The final group of villains that we are going to be talking about in this video are known as the 8 Precepts of Death, and they are the newest villains in the series. They are affiliated with the Yakuza, or the Japanese Mafia, and they are first introduced in chapter 115 of the manga. They are known for wearing creepy yet captivating plague masks. First, we have Overhaul. Overhaul is the leader of the 8 Precepts of Death. He is also known as Chisaki, and he is a major germaphobe, to put it mildly. He hates dirty places, and he thinks that everyone around him is sick and filthy. His goal is to become the undisputed ruler of the criminal underworld, and he doesn't hesitate to destroy anyone who stands in his way, whether they are heroes or villains. The name of his quirk is Overhaul, its type is Emitter, and it works on contact. This powerful quirk allows Overhaul to disassemble anything he touches, only to reassemble it again later. When he uses it against an opponent, the opponent will experience incredible pain and become incapacitated, but their body parts will later be reassembled with all of their past injuries and illnesses cured. Using his quirk appears to take a physical toll on Overhaul. He develops a rash and itching, which might feed into his irrational fear of illnesses. Next, we have Chronostasis. Overhaul's faithful assistant, Chronostasis, has an unnamed stealth-based quirk. He is capable of moving around undetected and launching sneak attacks against his opponents, which we can assume is a direct result of his mysterious quirk. He carries a dart-firing pistol that seems to have the ability to disrupt the quirks of his opponents. Now, the meaning of the word chronostasis is a temporal illusion which makes our brain think that a certain event is taking longer than it really is. For example, when you're in class and staring at the clock waiting for class to end, but time seems to go slower than usual, you are experiencing chronostasis. So I wonder, could his name be a hint that Chronostasis possesses a quirk that can slow down time? This would certainly explain his stealth, and if true, it would be one of the absolutely coolest quirks in My Hero Academia. And finally, we have Mimic, the general manager of the 8 Precepts of Death and a loyal follower of Overhaul. Mimic has a quirk called Mimicry, and its type is Emitter. This quirk gives him the ability to possess objects and to control them. The size of an object he can possess is said to be no bigger than a refrigerator, but the quirk boosting drug known as Trigger allows him to possess much larger objects and even an entire basement floor. And these are the 3 most notable members of the 8 Precepts of Death, but there are other members as well, although the information we have on them so far is limited. If you would like to see a special video about the 8 Precepts of Death in the future as we learn more about them, be sure to let me know down below. And that is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks to Soul Maka from our Discord server for helping me out with this video. I know that we covered a lot of villains in this video, but I hope that having them all here in one place will be useful for you. And if you want to see any of the villains described in greater detail, like we did with Hero Killer Stain, let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more My Hero Academia videos, be sure to 100% Detroit smash that like button. And if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you'd like to chat with us about anime on a daily basis, you can join our Discord server. The link is in the description. And until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.